and welcome to Blueprint Radio, a guide to fitness, health, and wealth, brought to you by Mass Mutual Miami, where your financial health is our number one priority. I am Karen Garcia, as always, here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Scott Kjelson.
Hello, hello.
And celebrity fitness enthusiast, Mr. Tony Thomas.
How you doing? How you doing? It's okay. You can let the secret out.
All right. Fantastic. And our goal is simple, as always. It's to educate, enlighten, and hopefully entertain each and every one of our listeners and viewers on the importance of improving fitness, health, and wealth, and how that can lead to overall success.
Okay, so today's topic is resolve, how to decide firmly on a course of action. All right, in the fitness world, we consider that being the better version of yourself. And how do you do that? You set goals. All right, you want to set realistic and attainable goals, goals that you can attack on a week-to-week basis, which leads to the fact of attacking that goal. Attack. How you start your goals is how you're typically going to finish. So if you come in with energy and intensity, you're usually going to finish on top of any program that you can stick to. And then apply change. Your routine will get stagnant. There's always ways to spice it up, add new changes. After 3 weeks, if you learn to apply different resistance, different frequencies, different even programs as far as nutrition-based, finding new challenges or adding new options and challenges to your workout always applies great change for muscle confusion, and you can build and become stronger. So with those three settings, I would like for you to try to attack your workout in those 3 ways: goal setting, attacking your program, not letting it attack you, and apply change to your routine.
Awesome. I have a quick question on that. So in the term of setting goals, do you suggest, for example, my resolve is to lose 20 pounds? Let's say that's my goal. And what I would like to do is find out, is it best to set my goal on a weekly basis, let's say on a 3-month basis? Is there anything on timing that you would recommend?
Yes, on a weekly basis, because you don't want to go too far out, all right? So you want to see your goals on a day-to-day basis. That way you can attack it the best way you can possibly do that. How can you do that? All right, create a little box. This box is for everything that you do right. Everything that you do right, you're good for that week. If you do anything wrong, take something out of the box. Okay, what does that have to do? Show it's going to be a change. It's going to be a change whether it be for nutrition. It'll be a change whether it be for your program. These little goodies that are in this box are always ways. So if you do mess up, you can get right back on course.
I love the box effect of the goods and bads. Sometimes, how many times have you guys, let's say, said, I'm going to do 20 push-ups, or I'm going to do 10 push-ups, okay? And then you hit 9, and then your 10th one is crappy, right?
Yes.
We never write that off.
No.
Do we ever? We never say, like, I owe myself one.
Right.
But if somebody's watching us, they're like, now you owe me one,
Exactly.
right? So sometimes writing it down is that other person, your second personality just yelling at yourself.
Right.
Excellent point. You're right. It makes it real when you write it down.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I see a lot of people writing it down. I always look at them. I'm like, what are you guys doing? But then it makes sense.
Yep.
It creates that discipline effect.
Exactly.
You
Makes
know,
yourself accountable.
I was just at the Florida Concierge Association speaking, and it's crazy because you're looking at a group of people that, A, are always working, B, are always going to events, and C, are looking for whatever works, because the fact is, when you're always on the go, it's really hard, right?
Of course.
So I think that's really something when it says, we're talking about course of action, we really need to define what the course of action actually is. And sometimes when you're very busy, it's very hard to find that course of action or find course of actions to attack. So setting goals is a huge part of that. And I think writing them out is another huge part of that. The other thing is becoming that brand that you see yourself as. And in the sense, the same thing as setting a goal. So what we see is, okay, I want to become 10 pounds lighter, or I want to cut up, I want to see biceps, and to me that's a goal. But when you become that, when you actually reach those goals, now you inspire other people to actually reach those goals as well. And I think that's a huge concept to take in consideration. And also, when you're talking about the goals, like you just said, taking action, I just have a question for you, and both of you actually. What would you say would be an attainable goal for somebody not working out on a regular basis or not eating healthy? What would you say a first step would be?
A first step? I mean, if you're not working out at all, just going on a simple walk is a perfect start. Start with a brisk walk, try to get better and better every week, and maybe lead into a jog. Start to apply different changes like weight room activities, as well as maybe you might do a boot camp where you're around people who can add motivation to you, because in group settings, people they let their guards down a little bit more. They can see other people are going through the same trials and tribulations they are, so they're more confident to keep going. But I'd start off small, like a brisk walk, maybe taking the steps, and then start leading more and more into the active lifestyle. Yep.
I would agree and defer to you on that part. I would say from personal experience for me, for example, I have just started trying to say, okay, my resolve is I will not talk about it anymore. I will just do. I'm going to stop getting ready to get ready to get ready. Okay, the first thing I did was, as soon as I said that, I said, but I'm doing that thing I complain about. So immediately I said, what can I do right now? And it was lunchtime. And instead of grabbing bread to make a sandwich, I thought, okay, what can I do? And I had quinoa. So I thought of you. And
high five.
And I was like, wow, with the power of just doing. Right. And I think that's a good way to get started. And that can really just break up the scary nature of a goal that is so large, just by doing little things. They add up to big things.
And my point of that all was, when somebody does what you've just did, you become very positive about those actions. And I see a lot of times we start seeing people post on social media about the meals and like, hey, wake up, they start getting motivated. And that's what I mean about becoming the brand, because it's more about that inspire to inspire. So you've been inspired to do something, or you've inspired yourself to do something. And I feel like that correlates into the message that you're putting across to other people.
Exactly.
So exactly what you just said right now, you may later say what you did to a family member.
Well, look at me. I'm already showing off about it. I'm telling everybody, go listen. And I had scrambled eggs with kale this morning.
She's like, I'm telling iHeartRadio and Miami about this right now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what I mean about becoming that brand. It's not just about marketing, but it's about marketing your positivity to other people. And I think that's a huge concept from a nutrition, finance, and a fitness aspect. I mean, it's all encompasses. So.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to quickly switch topics, as I always do. And I can just see our radio technician here freaking out because the Cuban in me came out. I yelled in this last segment.
It's okay. We're used to it.
We're used to it. Okay. So let me go to my section. In all seriousness, changing it up a little bit, talking about resolve, to decide firmly on a course of action. I had a meeting a couple days ago with a client, prospective client who is now going to become a client. And she said, I want to talk about long-term care planning. And it turns out, long story really short, and I won't name names, of course, is she's got a 50-year-old daughter who is mentally handicapped. And not severe, but enough where this person needs help. And so she was talking to me about buying a product called long-term care, etc. And it turned out that I sat there and I said, well, do you have a will in place? Do you have a trust set up? Do you have what you've just told me? She says to me, Karen, I want to make sure that if I'm gone, my daughter who lives with me here now will not be sent to a state home. And I said, well, that's great that you told me, and I'm glad, and I'll be your advocate, but it won't matter a hill of beans to the judge unless it's written in some sort of legal document. So that got me inspired to say, you know what, let's make a resolve. And in her case, her resolve was to take care of her child. And her child is a grown person who can't take care of themselves. So I just wanted to briefly point out in her case, for example, the importance of a will. And I just brought a couple of specific things. And what I wanted to say is, in some states, believe it or not, if you don't have a will drafted up, if you are married and have children, if you die, the spouse takes it all. So imagine if you were maybe not doing so well with your spouse, or you had children from a previous marriage, and all of a sudden now you pass away without a will, what they call intestate. And now all of the money goes to the spouse that you were considering maybe even divorcing. That's probably not our intentions. So that's really one of the many reasons. In this woman's case, my client's case, it was, she told me what her desire was, but unless it's written down in a legal format, it wouldn't matter, right?
So if you don't have a will, and you don't like your wife, don't eat the food if you're feeling sick.
All right, Scott. Dr. Scott just summarized. but anyway, so, and we make light of it because it's kind of fun to talk. And hopefully we're not talking about, we don't want to talk about the negative parts of dying. But the truth of the matter is, she tells me this, and my heart broke because I said to her, from a salesperson perspective, I couldn't just justify sitting there and selling her a long-term care policy. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to make a penny off of drafting a will for her. I can't even do it. But I said the first thing you need to do is go draft a will.
Well, I think it's what we've been talking about over the last 13 weeks. It encompasses all as well. I mean, it's talking about security, protection, like we're talking about today, taking action. I was just talking about this the other day with my business partner. I was like, I would love to put a will, and he's like, already? And I'm like, there's no time to, like, there's no exact time to do that. I think a lot of people think like they're gonna say it looks like it's gonna rain today, and it rains type of thing. You know, it's like, oh, I don't want to sign a will because I might die soon, right?
Same thing. I mentioned that with life insurance. People don't want to buy it. As soon as they buy it, they think they're gonna die.
No, and I always said, like, I want to put in my will that I don't want people to mourn. I think that all my friends are going to be in my will, so I could hold them justice, so they can throw an event for me every year, so it can be a happy time, and I never forgotten.
There you go. All right.
This Resolve segment was brought to you by Genomic, improving your quality of life through personalized testing.
And now we're here with our very special guest, William Browning, CEO, executive producer, director, and host of Browning Production and Entertainment, a.k.a. Mr. Everything.
Hello, Mr. Everything.
And I'm identified as very special. So
yeah, with cowboy boots.
First time I've been introduced in that manner.
Don't forget the cowboy boots. So,
hey.
William, first off, I would like you to just explain a little bit about you and your background, if you don't mind, because I think I can't do justice for you. So,
well, thank you guys for having me here. First of all, I also appreciate the microphones in the radio room. They're a lot cooler looking than we have on television. So, first of all, that's exciting. But yeah, so I've been doing television for over a decade now. I kind of started with when I was about 19 years old, and the motto of my company is show business, not show hobby. So a lot of people do what they love all the time, but are you making money? And if you're not making money, you probably can't do as much of what you want to do as you'd like. So that's kind of the premise in which I built my business. So what we did is we went out and we sought out funding. We did about $100,000 in the first 4 months in sales. And I produced a TV show that I knew nothing about and had no idea how to produce a TV show. And we ended up airing on Travel Channel, Fine Living Network, and American Life TV. So, that was the beginning. And from there on, we just continued to find good quality programming. So that's kind of what I do on the TV side is we build quality programming that educates the viewing audience, and everybody walks away learning something that they never knew before in health and wellness, and just knowledge about certain skill sets. So we have a wide variety of different TV shows, and then I also build businesses behind each TV show so that we can support the viewership and actually give them the opportunity to do what they see in those shows.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I want to ask you a little bit specifically about that, because I find that fascinating. Coming from a bit of an arts background myself, that's one of the things that I realized. A lot of artists take pride in the starving artist. I never took pride in that. I thought, I don't want to starve as an artist. I want to make money. But somehow that can kind of make you seem like you're not artistic enough, and I just completely disagree with that. So I love your motto. So my question for you is, what was your resolve? In other words, how did you get to the point where you said, I'm going to do this show that I have no experience in? How did you go about, okay, that's my resolve, and what was your planning behind it, if you don't mind sharing that?
I mean, part of it might be the fact that I'm a control freak. So, you watch Brad Pitt, and he's in movies now, and you're like, oh, wow, that's Brad Pitt. But if you look back like 20, 30 years ago when he started in the film industry, he's at the mercy of the executive producer, the producer, and the director. They can make him look great, or they can make him look really bad. And his reputation depends on that. And luckily, he's had a great career. But you look at some other actors, and their careers have died because they've been identified by what someone else wanted them to be. So when I went into this, I wanted to have full control. And the only way you can have full control in something is by actually getting the funding yourself. So getting sponsorships and maintaining full control. And within doing that and controlling an entire season of television, for example, I can go to the network and I can shop it around and still maintain control of those shows. So the networks don't tell me what to put in my shows. I tell them what's going in the shows. And guess what? We're putting better quality programming on television now that's affecting people's lives. So, even Dr. Kjelson over here, we've had him in the past 2 shows. We have one called Training Grounds, where we train with Delta Forces, Rangers, Special Operators. But to be able to do like firearms training, escape and evasion, survival training, all those things, you've got to be equipped physically and nutritionally and mentally to handle those situations. So we brought in Genomic and talked about, how do you fuel your body, knowing your food allergens, your DNA makeup. And then also we have another TV series called Fat City. So we help people that are largely overweight And instead of, going in there and having surgery and things that'll just, you'll go right back to where you used to be, it's changing the mindset and changing your life through habits and behaviors. And these things need to be, on television and showing people the right way to do this stuff and putting science behind it. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm a control freak, and that's the main thing. I want to make sure that we maintain control over the programming to make sure it's quality. It's not just something that, the network wants to get, more viewing audience.
I see that. Is that because you're more hands-on? It seems like you're not exactly what you're. Everything is what you pretty much are. You like getting in the mix, and you kind of like, you build everything from the ground up, so you have full control. You can apply your value. You know what I mean? Is that what it is? Are you more hands-on than producers?
People ask me, what is a producer? And I would say it's the glue that sticks it all together. So, you have to be the jack of all trades. You got to be a problem solver. And you just got to bring great people. It's all about the team. So it's never myself. It is the team. But like, for example, Training Grounds, that show I produce, I direct, and I host it. And let's just say I've got a few more gray hairs after doing that one. So, but you know what? It's great, though, because my backup team, the people that support me in it, make my job easier. So they make me look like I'm doing all these great things and I'm Mr. Everything. But in reality, they're everything, and I'm the small piece of that.
That's awesome. Tony, you and I were speaking about some of his shows. The majority of them always have to, or not always, majority of them have to do with training at some physical point, like we spoke about, and nutrition. And I think that was a really cool concept that we thought was, that was out there.
Absolutely.
That the hype, the industry is moving towards that, and he's showing it in your face. And instead of just showing burpees and jumping jacks to lose weight, it's about the encompassing everything. So I think that was really interesting to us. So
I if you don't mind, I'd like to also ask you something about a widow wascal. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I recently partnered with a group, and they've been developing this technology for about over a decade at this point. And it's essentially going to take TV through the internet and make it reachable for every individual TV for free. So, Geico's got their Geico lizard and different things like that, their little mascot, the Chihuahua for Taco Bell, right? So we have the Widow Wascal, which he's a raccoon.
I love it.
And he's a scavenger. And you know what? He gets everything for free. So who said there's no such thing as free lunch? Well, the Widow Wascal said that TV for free the way it should be. And that's what we've done. And it's actually a multi-screen experience. So, if you go onto a smart TV or an Android device, whatever it might be, you see, Netflix or Hulu, some of those things, but you pay subscriber base. This is all free, and it's a multi-screen experience, so you can watch your main, programming, and then click on it and have a second screen option where you maybe see a different view or behind the scenes, or you can go to the website. If you watch something for sponsors as well, if you're watching something on the show and you say, hey, I want to buy that, you can click on it and actually purchase it while you're watching the show at the same time.
That is cool. Interactive TV too.
But it's non-traditional media, so we're focusing entire networks within this platform on health and wellness. So what we would do is have, this radio show, for example, we can have this featured in there in a 2-minute block or a 10-minute block. It doesn't have to be half-hour or hour programming or traditional TV, but people watch it in order to learn and educate themselves in specific areas. So if you have a fascination with firearms, you can learn how to do firearms, from the experts through non-traditional media on there.
Wow.
So TV for ADD.
Now I'm going to rebrand it. I've got a raccoon. I've got a raccoon outfit. Maybe you could wear it.
About the same size.
I think
That's fine.
Just a little less sleep around the eyes.
Were you talking about branding? Like, this is branding now.
So I have another question for you, if you guys don't mind. Can I jump in? Corporate wellness, you mentioned. You said you had something related to corporate wellness. Tell me a little bit about that and how it differs from the corporate wellness that we listen to through our standard health insurance companies.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think about where the source is coming from. So if it's an insurance company, they're probably looking to, get premiums and
reduce costs.
Reduce costs, and they get those wellness dollars back from those companies. So, it's a bottom line for them. But, what is your motivation for doing something? So I recently partnered with Billy Beck, who has trained many, many celebrities. He's going next week to train Tony Robbins all over the world in India and Australia. And we have BB3 Training and Fitness Center in Weston, and it's completely focused on training people, from the ground up, but changing your mentality about it and really doing a full life immersion, and integration within that. And that's what we need to do within corporate wellness, because here's the problem. I go to work every day and people say, well, how do you do these 18-hour days, sleep 3 hours and then you're back at it again? And I love what I do, and I have a smile on my face throughout the whole thing. And the way you eat and the way you exercise affects your mood, affects your mentality, affects your energy levels. And those simple concepts, if everyone really bought into it and did it, then we could affect change on a whole nother level. And as a corporation, we could increase productivity within those companies by having everyone doing that.
I feel like we could have you here probably another 2 episodes, really, just so easily. Thank you for your time, William Browning, CEO, producer, director, and host, and maybe Widow Waskel at Browning Productions and Entertainment.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We really do appreciate it.
This segment with William Browning was brought to you by Work Out Your Wealth, promoting healthier and wealthier living through sound financial and wellness services.
And now we're back for another segment of our takeaway section, and I'll start it off with Doctor's Lowdown. So today I'm just going to mention a little bit about symptoms and listening to your body. I know we spoke about this briefly throughout our segments in the past, but ideally I've been able to help a lot of people out just from a consult alone. I'll give you a perfect example. One of my patients, actually a firefighter, won't mention the name obviously because of certain aspects, but was having hives, and he couldn't go to work. He was missing work and it was creating a family problem because he was dealing with this issue, and it began to cause breathing issues. We started looking at his diet and really just taking out certain things like, I can guarantee you this is going to sound weird, but pasta was actually causing him hives. He took the pasta out of his diet.
Amazing.
And his hives were gone. So like certain things like that, certain symptoms, we need to recognize those. And going back to our theme, taking action. So some of those things are trial and error. What foods are causing you problems? Okay, when I eat this, I need to remember this. I need to write this down. And I think looking at those things and trying to minimize those things that cause you issues can really hone in on those triggers.
Wow, nice.
Pretty amazing.
All right, so for Tony's takeaway, we're going to talk about remembering why you started. All right, so you got to remember why you started. You can be on either side, either discouraged or maybe even overly confident. But either way, whichever the angle, you got to remember why you started. If you're overly confident, you might be like, hey, I'm the start of this program. I'm doing great. What happens? You start to take a little bit off because you're doing well, or you take a day away and then you get back to that same point where you started. And you want to remember why you started and why you wanted to get better so you can continue to get better in the future.
Fantastic. I think that's fantastic. Before I go to Karen's concept, I just want to say what you just said about the trial and error with the foods makes total sense to me. My pediatrician, that's the way I introduce foods to my child. So why wouldn't we work backwards for ourselves? He would say you introduce one food at a time. Don't give a new food after 3 or 4 days to make sure that there's no reaction. Yeah. So isn't that kind of the same concept, but in reverse?
And you could go back and really look at a basic diet and then start adding certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. My Karen's concept is, okay, last night I was watching the Republican debates on CNN, and I realized, oh, my Lord, do we all need to decide firmly on a course of action? That was way missing from a lot of people's speeches.
Wait, that wasn't a series? I thought that was HBO.
So anyway, I just want to say, vote, guys. Our vote does matter. And watch these debates. They do matter. Decide firmly on a course of action for yourself, for your country, for your nation.
And don't listen to people that are not doctors about vaccines, please.
Please don't. All right. Well, thank you again to our amazing guest, William Browning.
Yes. And don't forget to follow us at blueprintradioshow.com, where you can find all of our links to our sponsors, our social media, and you can find our previous shows. I want to thank Echo Media Productions. I want to thank White Noise, Into a Media Group, Genovic, Work Out Your Wealth, Matthew Zukowski, Attorney at Law, and of course, Mass Mutual Miami. And yes, like you said, thank you, William Browning, our special guest. More words than we actually had time for, and I wish we can bring him back on.
I hope we will.
Have an amazing day, guys.